All discussing the security issues. Joining us right now is Dr. Kabiru Adamo. He's a security consultant. We'd like to thank you for joining us on the News at 10.
My pleasure, Millicent. Good evening.
Good evening. Let's begin with what we're seeing, especially that last report. Citizens who are living in fear, a nightmare over insecurity. How much reassurance do you think they're getting from security agencies, from the government, that, this can be stemmed, nipped in the bud?
In terms of the direct consequence of security action on the populace, frankly, not so much. Most of what we see are the types of media appearances that your report showed earlier on. But at the granular level, at the level of the villages, the wards, there's very little reassurance. Yes, one can argue that there is security force deployment, but then that security force deployment has not been able to stem the tide of security challenges. I run a consultancy. We just released a report, and the data is staggering. Life in the Northwest has returned to that Hobbesian state of brutishness. It's short, and just like your report showed, people, frankly, are living in fear. If we have time, I can quickly go through the statistics, what it shows. In the Northwest, the number of fatalities that are for 2021, out of a total of 8,372, 3,051 occurred in the Northwest. If you add the three regions of the North, the percentage for the end of the year, January to December, is 79% of the fatalities that occurred in the country as a whole. Now, if you go to kidnapping, the total was 5,018. Now, for the Northwest, it was 61.8%. And then for the three regions in the North, it's 88.9%. And that shows exactly what your report tried to show. Life is brutish. That Hobbesian state of existence, unfortunately, is being repeated in the northern half of the country.
Quite worrying, the statistics you've mentioned, especially in the Northwest, but we're also seeing a different dimension, or would you call it that, in the North Central, especially with renewed attacks in Plateau State?
Exactly, and there is a common feature, the so-called ungoverned spaces, and then gunmen that as a country we've not been able to designate properly. Unknown gunmen, bandits, are now designated as terrorists, but that's the common feature. They're operating in the North Central, operating in the Northwest, and unfortunately also in the Northeast. It's a common feature, unfortunately, and they're exploiting gaps in the security architecture, and the result of these gaps is the deaths that we're seeing. It's the same thing all over, frankly.
So, in terms of the federal government's declaration of bandits as terrorists, has it changed anything? Does it change anything?
So that declaration is a legal requirement. Now, there are two major components of counter-terrorism in the country. The legal component, which is the Terrorism Prevention Act as amended 2013, and then the National Counter-Terrorism Strategy revised in 2016. So what we're hoping in the coming days is that now that the legal instrument has been provided, the coordinating elements within the national security architecture would use the National Counter-Terrorism Strategy and do three basic things. First and foremost, identify these bandits who have now been designated terrorists, make it clear to Nigerians who are they. Two groups were mentioned in that gazette. Now, who are the members of this group? What is the structure of this group? These groups, are they registered? So that's what we're hoping in the coming days. Second component, block their ability to generate funding. There was a Gerber report last year. That Gerber report explained clearly how terrorists generate their funding. So we're hoping that these coordinating elements within the security architecture architecture would make that clear to us, to Nigerians. And then the third component, block their ability to recruit new members. There is enough data showing that there are about 30,000 of such bandits or terrorists operating within the Northwest and North Central. So one of the most critical things to do is to limit their ability to recruit new members and their ability to operate within the region. I've talked about ungoverned spaces. So part of what we need to do at the federal and state level is to dominate those spaces and deny them the chance to stay in those ungoverned spaces and continue to operate and do the bestial activities they've been doing over the last few years.
Security consultant Dr. Kabiru Adamu, always a pleasure having you on the News at 10.
The pleasure is mine. Good night.
And we're back in Abuja. Terry Kumi has some more stories.